Black True Crime is a podcast that researches and discusses murders committed by Black offenders. It is a podcast that anyone and everyone is welcome to enjoy, but it may not be enjoyed by anyone and everyone, so listener discretion is advised. Now, without further ado, this is Black True Crime.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, guys.
I'm Kayla.
And I'm Kristen.
And I'm Nikki.
And this is Black True Crime. And if this is your first time here at the show, friend, welcome and hello.
Come on in, everybody. Have a seat.
Yeah, so this is Mama Nikki. We're not going to keep reintroducing
She's
her
our
every
mama.
episode,
And she's on the show.
yeah, she's been here a few times. Welcome, Mother.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, my precious, beautiful daughters. It's a privilege.
Mm.
You don't have to put on, Mom.
I was saying, Ma, you so
They
phony.
already love you.
Whatever. Come on.
Okay. Okay.
That was for the new people. My friends know the deal.
They know. Sweet and nice and spicy is all get out. Okay,
All
so
get out.
this week's episode, I didn't have time to write an intro to. I had time. I just didn't feel like it by the
I was
time
about
I
to
was
say.
finished researching.
That's all right.
Transparency.
You. Do it, girl.
So I'm just gonna dive right into it. Are you guys ready?
We're
ready.
Into it.
Okay, let's get started. Maurice Clemmons was born on February 6, 1972 in Marianna, Arkansas.
What's his name?
Maurice.
Oh, okay.
Kristen, before we even started, Kristen said 3 different times this man was fine.
And he is, y'all. We all see it. Look at that chiseled cheekbones. But he looked mean, too. And that's probably why I think he looked fine.
I was wondering, was this the one you was talking about, Kristen?
Mom didn't budge. Mom said nothing about the man other than, ooh, when he popped on the screen. Was you scared?
I was confused because you said it 3 different times. I couldn't wait to see him.
Mom, so you mean to tell me you don't think that man is fine?
I mean to tell you that that's someone's child and the mom and daddy genes mixed together and made them.
That's all you can say about
That's
this
all
man.
I got to say. He got a big, nice, round head.
And a
pit bull.
thick neck. He
So-
looked like a pit bull. So what did he do? Why is he on here?
All right, let's get to it. It's been 7 seconds into the actual case. So,
You should have wrote the intro.
Lord. Maurice was one of 6 children that lived in a mobile home with their mother. His dad worked at a Chrysler factory making the frames for the seats of the cars, and his mom, whose name was Dorothy Mae Clemens, worked at a nursing home.
Wow. Modest living, but they're working, making
Mhm.
money.
Apparently, they grew up super, super poor.
Yeah. How many of them was it? The babies.
There was 6.
That's a lot of kids.
Mhm. When he was a teenager, Maurice and a close cousin named Ray moved to Little Rock. I don't know if it was his cousin or his brother, but family member close to him. Ray moved to Little Rock, and this was around the time the crack epidemic was really taking off.
Oh.
According to Ray, quote, that was when all the friends started killing each other over money,
Okay.
end quote. So obviously, seeing all this murder and violence really affected young Maurice, who started getting into a lot of trouble of his own.
Uh-oh. He look it, though. He look like he been in some trouble. He looks like trouble.
When he was in 11th grade at Hall High School, he was arrested for showing up to school with a .25 caliber pistol.
Damn, Racy. You going hard at 11th grade.
Right. Maurice was thugging.
His reason behind it was that he was essentially protecting himself. He said he was beaten up by some dopers and that he had, quote, something for him if they tried it again.
Okay. All right.
And after that, Maurice dropped out of school.
Oh,
Mm.
no.
One night in 1989, when he was 17, he and 2 other people were out around midnight and ended up robbing a woman in the parking lot of a hotel bar in Little Rock.
Doggone it, Maurice.
Hate a thief.
You know?
Maurice held up his hand in his pocket, pretending to have a gun, and threatened to shoot the woman if she didn't give him her purse.
But he didn't really have a gun, did he?
He just did that fake, give me your stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I was expecting the woman to just be like, oh my God, like, take it, whatever, just don't hurt me. And that was not her energy at all. Apparently, she said, quote, well, why don't you just shoot?
And that's our period.
Oh,
Because
well.
you holding something in your pocket. Nigga, do it.
Oh,
I wouldn't
She
say it.
called his bluff.
She definitely called his bluff, Mom. Hardcore. So what happened?
she would probably tell that's not a gun in his pocket.
Right.
Or whatever. So Maurice responded by just punching her in the head and then running off with her purse anyway.
Punching her in the head. I hope that means her face.
I mean, I guess.
I would rather just be the head and he hurt his hand on her
Hurt his
skull.
hand, yeah.
But anyway.
Wow, Maurice looks strong. Also, that's hilarious.
I don't like him.
Already, we don't like him. When he later opened the purse, the woman only had $16 and a credit card in there.
That's what he gets.
That's what you get, Reese.
Ridiculous.
Mhm.
He was arrested for this, and honestly, Maurice was a whole menace. Like, you know how once people like get arrested, they're like, okay, let me kind of behave.
Mm-hmm.
No, when he was in custody, he was worse.
Wow.
One time in court, he had taken apart a metal doorstop and hid it in his sock to use later as a weapon.
Kayla.
Yeah, Reese.
Yeah. Thankfully, a bailiff realized what he did and confiscated the weapon. But another time, he took a lock from his holding cell. I don't know what type of lock.
How did he get it?
I don't know, girl. He took it and took it all the way to court with him and then threw it at the bailiff, but he missed and ended up hitting his own mother instead.
Oh! Now, if that's not a premonition or divine intervention, I don't know which one.
You can't make this up. When I read that, I was like, who's like trying to be funny? Like somebody's trying to be funny.
That's what, no shade, mama, but that's what he get for trying to be like that.
Clocked his mom in the head. Bad tale.
Definition of a
Shame.
baby kid.
Yup. There was another time when Maurice was accused of trying to grab a guard's pistol while he was being transported to court.
Like, dang, Maurice. And I'm sure these are completely different court times or
Yes,
court
I was
cases.
just gonna say that. Like, these are different trials that he's going to and just acting a fool. He also reportedly threatened a judge, and because of this, he had to be shackled in leg irons and seated next to an officer during the trial.
That's so
So-
extra.
Man, it had come to the point that he didn't even need no trial. He just did it.
And this all happened before the man was even 18 years old.
Mom,
Right.
that was an angry kid.
See, something happened in that little mobile home with all them kids.
Okay.
You think he's like mentally ill already?
Yeah. I think something happening up there that's not, some neurons have got disconnected because
Maybe
he's only
like a
17.
personality disorder or something where he's just expressing himself through violence.
Maybe he got
Wow.
some lead poisoning in that, because lead poisoning was really prominent back there. Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Maybe you got to hold to some crack.
I was about to say, was he doing drugs?
Not really sure. It didn't even come up in any of the stuff that I was really reading.
Oh, okay.
Because of his proclivity for violence, Maurice's charge were moved up to adult court instead of juvenile court. And by 1990, Maurice had racked up 8 felony charges and through multiple different trials was sentenced to a total of 108 years in prison.
Dear Jesus.
So what are we still talking about him for?
Because you know how
You-
the justice system do. They do the people wrong that deserve the second chances, but the people that have had umpteenth amount of chances, they're just like,
Should have been
it's
locked
fine."
up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, not all of these were like consecutive sentences, meaning he has to serve the first one like 20 years and the next one. Some of these go concurrently at the
Mhm.
same time. So he was sentenced to 35 years for robbing and assaulting that woman in the hotel bar. He was sentenced to 6 years for bringing the weapon to high school, which is
Dang.
crazy in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of years.
8 years for burglary, theft, and probation violation for something that happened on September 9th, 1989. And then he was sentenced to 60 years, which was his biggest amount, for breaking into an Arkansas state trooper's house and stealing about $7,000 worth of stuff, including a gun.
Okay.
Dang, this boy didn't fear nobody.
No, he didn't. And like
Not the law.
80 years for that, I think was because it was a state trooper. But
60 years.
Sorry, 60 years for that. But also, he kind of needed to sit down. You know, like that was a lot of years, and he didn't kill anybody to receive that much. But he was going to if you didn't stop him and sit him down.
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
And then he's on the show.
What else happened?
During the sentencing hearing, the judge told Maurice that he had broken his mother's heart. And his response was, quote, I have
In her
broken my
head.
own heart.
Mm.
Well, that was a lock he threw at her.
Terrible. Mom, please.
I'm sorry, Racy Mom, but that ain't funny at all. But your,
I'm like,
baby,
we're about to talk about his mom in a second.
your baby bad.
Real bad.
Look
So
at
this
him.
is him as well. What do you think about this one, Kristen?
You know, it's not ass, but you know, ain't nothing wrong with a thick chocolate man. But he
He
look
look like
tired.
A milk dud with a beauty mark on his face. You see him mold sticking out. You're so bad.
For all of his charges, he wouldn't be eligible for parole until at least 2015. So he'd be in jail for at least 25 years.
Okay.
But fast forward to 1999, so after almost 10 years behind bars, Maurice submitted a clemency appeal to Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee. This appeal included details about his childhood, saying that he grew up in a very good Christian family and was raised much better than his actions spoke. He said when his family moved to Seattle from Arkansas, he really struggled because he had no friends, and to fit in, he just started doing bad stuff, fell into the wrong crowd, all that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's
can see
believable.
that.
Could be.
Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yes. He said he took responsibility for his actions and was apologetic, but that he also felt like he was sentenced too harshly. Which I
Yeah,
agree.
he could have left that
I
out.
agree. Well, I agree as well. He has to make
6
his
years
plea.
for bringing a gun to school. Like, I know that's kind of scary, but I don't know. Rapists get sentenced to less.
Right.
But, you know,
Mhm.
whatever. He mentioned how he was a new man and felt guilty about the fact that his mom had died while he was locked up.
Oh no.
And he felt bad that she wasn't going to be able to see, like, the new man that he was, what he transformed into.
Oh, his mom was so cute.
Even one of the circuit court judges that was involved in one of his trials supported his clemency application. The judge felt that the sentences were definitely excessive, especially for how young Maurice was at the time he received them.
I agree. I think we all do.
Yeah. Some of the people that were involved in the case, like the prosecuting attorney, said that he must have been a bad little dude for him to get such a stiff sentence. That's what he was quoted to say, a bad little dude. I'm not saying that.
He was a bad little dude.
But the governor didn't agree and decided to drop Maurice's sentencing down to 47 years, 5 months, and 19 days, which meant that he was eligible for parole that day.
Ah.
What?
And on July 13, 2000, the Arkansas Parole Board unanimously approved his release, and he was officially a free man
Oh.
on
MG.
August 1st, 2000.
Okay, so the process works for some. Not saying that he should have got out, but like saying that like at that time and that point in time, his reduced sentence makes sense.
Yeah, legally.
Right.
Okay.
So he's out.
Yep. So he's out. He's 28, and very soon he'll be back on his BS.
Squandered the second chance.
Oh yeah. Now, just because he's out of prison, he's still out on probation.
Okay.
And March of the very next year, 2001, he would violate his probation by committing an aggravated robbery in Ouachita County.
Oh, you a cheater? Wait a minute. Is that what I thought I heard? You a cheater?
Okay. Cheater.
Oh, you a cheater?
Oh, you a cheater.
Oh.
It's literally spelled like that.
Well, maybe there was a lot of cheaters in that county.
He was charged with robbery and theft charges, and on July 13th, 2001, so this is a year to the day of his approval for release, He was sentenced to 10 more years in prison.
Well, it's aggravated assault. They only gave him 10
They only gave him 10.
after he was still on parole and he committed a felony offense that's similar to what he's been doing.
Yeah.
I would have locked his tail up for 20 years.
Yeah, or at least 15. Because clearly it seems like he only has to serve 25% of his sentencing anyway before he's eligible for parole.
Well, I would have reneged on them 47 and made that Negro finish out the rest of that and add something to it because he ain't learned. A tiger stripes don't change. Go ahead.
Especially in a violence SOB like this.
And this is a similar offense to what he's been doing. So the very plea to get his sentence reduced was
null and void.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you just came out and did the very thing you just said you was going to do better on. I'm locking you up. Finish the 47.
Yep. And he brought up his deceased mama at his hearing. Like, she wouldn't see the man I changed into. You are still the same man, you gross penny.
Niggas will say anything. Mom, did you hear me?
Yes, I heard you. I try to ignore it.
What did she say?
You didn't hear me?
Niggas will say anything.
He wasn't charged with the actual parole violations until 2004, which his attorney argued it was too late. Like, you should have charged him with that when you first arrested him. And somehow they were like, okay.
Well, it's kind of true. You should have charged him.
I mean,
I
guess they were focused on just getting him for those things because sometimes, if you bunch a bunch of charges together, you could just lose the whole thing. But still, 3 years later, you're like, okay, now we want to charge him with this. Just doesn't really make sense. But his attorney was on it.
Yeah, he wasn't having that.
Maurice was up for parole for the new charges in 2004. And he told the board that when he was first released, he wasn't really ready, but that he didn't want to die in prison and would, quote, try to do the right thing.
Here's the thing.
Full of it.
Okay, right. But at the same time, he is kind of right in the sense of, like, you could have reduced his sentence. You didn't have to let the grown man out. Like, yeah, he was up for parole, but you could have denied his parole.
That's fair.
So I will put some blame on the people, the whole panel that literally sits there and looks at him and listens to his story.
Yeah.
So,
because the governor reduced his sentence, they didn't have to push it through.
You didn't have to let him out.
He was granted parole again. And this time, he moved back to Washington State after his release. Yeah.
What is it with this guy? What type of, like, charm does he have?
I don't know, girl. I mean, if he's looking like how he was looking in that picture, maybe there was a lot of women and girls on the panel that were attracted to him.
Yeah.
And just saw the best side of him.
Yeah, maybe he, like, when he speaks, he's, like, just the right amount of not all the way there.
Yeah.
And, like, just the amount of being there that, like, he's sweet. And when you talk to him, he just seems like a sweet, misunderstood dude. You know what I've learned, Mom? When you're just the right amount of slow, people tend to like you a little more than the people who are all the way there.
Right. They have a little more empathy or a little pity on you.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Bless his heart. That's where that bless
heart.
That heart come from. People ain't right.
That's so funny.
Okay, come on, Caleb.
The same year, Maurice got married to a young woman named Nicole Smith. So I have a picture of Nicole.
Ooh. Nicole is cute.
All right, Nicole.
Maurice, look, he is fine, but he do look not all the way there.
I'm going to tell you, he missing the neck. And something between him not having a neck swiped away some common sense or something. I don't know.
I don't think it's the neck. I like he ain't got no neck. I like how his biceps or his deltoids raise up like that
and connect like his body to his head.
Thank you. I like that. I'm not mad at that. But his eyes, there's something in his eyes
evil
that gives evil or just not all the way there. That's what I'll say.
She would later claim that their relationship was very tumultuous and that she was completely unaware of anything that he would go on to later do. Like, girl, I'm not I'm not really trying to hear that, because you guys are going to hear some of the things he was doing and saying, and it's like, how are you not aware that something's off?
Right.
So
They're married.
exactly. And plus, I'm never marrying no man fresh out. Like, did you even do a background check on him?
Yeah.
They were pen pals.
Oh, she could do better. But it seemed like Maurice really was a new man this time. He was living in Tacoma. He was running his own landscaping and power washing business out of his house. And between 2004 and 2009, he was doing so well that he was able to buy 6 houses.
Wow.
Dang, Racy.
Yeah.
Level up, level up. Okay.
5 of them were in Washington, and then he bought one in Arkansas. This whole time, though, he was still under supervision by the Washington State Department of Corrections, because before he left Arkansas, he was listed as, quote, high risk to reoffend.
Okay. Well,
Okay.
he is.
He definitely is. And he had the permission from the Arkansas, like, parole board or whatever, to move to Washington. So he didn't just, like, up and leave.
Right.
But this was a part of them, I guess, trying to communicate and
keeping
keep
tabs.
Yeah, keep tabs on this guy.
And Nicole's with him this whole time.
She's with him, yes.
Okay.
From 2004 to May of 2009, Maurice ran into no issues with the law. He didn't get arrested. I didn't even see a speeding ticket. But that would change drastically when, for 4 days in May, Maurice's, quote, behavior and mental state deteriorated.
Uh-oh.
So much so that he did some unthinkably violent and horrible things.
Uh-oh. He was doing so well.
Racy.
It's like an addict, you know?
He held
yeah.
on for 5
Performed for
years.
years and still crave the dark side.
Yeah. It's like how serial killers go on hiatuses sometimes. You know, there's something else that's distracting you.
Or you're trying to do right and you're holding on for as long as you can.
Yeah.
But then you just
Boom.
snap.
Yup. On May 9th, the police were called to 37-year-old Maurice's home because he had been reportedly throwing rocks at cars, at houses, and at people. So it's giving psychotic break a little bit.
It's giving unhinged.
Mm-hmm.
When one of the deputies tried to enter the home, one of Maurice's cousins grabbed the deputy by the wrist.
What?
They struggled for a bit, and then when Maurice made his way over, Maurice just punched the deputy in the face.
Lord.
What?
He loves to punch somebody. And then he assaulted the second deputy that came over to help.
Oh, Lord. So you done got Maurice involved, cousin. You over there tussling, holding the man's wrist. Maurice will come and knock this man out.
Maurice wants all the smoke.
All the smoke.
Just give him a reason to act up. Act out.
Throwing hands. I know. Throwing rocks and hands.
Rocks.
Maurice ended up getting arrested and struggled and fought his way all the way to the Pierce County Jail, where he reportedly was telling jail employees, quote, "I'll kill all you bitches." Excuse my language, Mom. That's just what it says.
That's what he said, quote unquote.
Mm-hmm. He ended up catching 2 felony assault charges and 2 felony malicious mischief charges, and his bail was set at $40,000, and he bonded out the next day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because he
got
had
money.
it.
All right.
Mm-hmm. On May 11th, around 1 a.m., Maurice was found naked in his living room and was reportedly forcing 2 of his female relatives, who were 11 and 12 years old, to touch on him.
Oh my God, he's lost it.
Oh, yeah. He's lost his mind.
All the neurons disconnected now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, he's never done like anything like this before that we know of.
Not that we know of.
This is a whole different type of criminal offense.
Yeah.
It looks like he's spiraling or just literally losing control and snapping.
Right.
Wow.
The 2 girls did what they were told, and afterward, the 11-year-old managed to leave the house. The 12-year-old, however, was taken into the bedroom by Maurice.
Oh,
No.
God.
Yes.
No.
Maurice also told his wife to come into the bedroom with them and was reportedly calling himself Jesus and saying that his wife was Eve. So, you know, a lot of people, when they have like mental health issues or even pretending to have them, they like to bring up Christian, you know, ideologies and figures and stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, he's gone. He's completely snapped.
the 12-year-old did end up being let go, but it was only after his wife begged him to let her go.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But it was still later reported that she was raped.
Oh my God.
So I don't know when it happened. I do know that a couple hours later, so after the wife begged him to let her go, this is around 4 a.m. in the morning, he apparently forced his wife and I think the two girls, they weren't very specific, to come into the living room and demanded that they all strip naked together.
Yeah, he had to have a gun.
I was about to say, because at 4 a.m, at this point, you couldn't call the police.
Mom, he did not have a gun. If he had a gun, they would have said it. Because he would have been charged with that too, as a felon having a gun.
But he was holding them hostage.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. I thought you said the 11-year-old left the house.
Right, but she left at like 1 a.m. Where was she really going? She probably like went outside or, you know what I'm saying? There's not really a full report on the specifics of that.
Oh no.
What does he do?
So I read that he was claiming that the world was coming to an end and that he was going to fly to heaven. This is like when he's leaving the house. Seemed like he was on drugs or something just really bad. The police were finally called and they found Maurice on the property of a second house that he was having built. But when he saw them approaching, he ran away and was able to escape.
Wow.
This man is slippery as heck.
And out of control.
Out of control. CPS got involved because of the claims of sexual abuse. They learned that the abuse was true. And according to his sister, LaTanya Clemens, she said, quote, Maurice had changed and was not in his right mind.
I believe it, but like not excusing, but like it feels like he snapped. It feels like something like broke.
Came unloose, whether it was like the facade that he had,
right,
or his mental stability.
Or his mental stability.
Yeah, definitely. Wow.
Yep. Although all of this happened on May 11th, Maurice wasn't arrested until July 1st, 2009.
What? He evaded that long?
I don't know if he evaded. Too long, Ma. He was out too long.
Sure was.
I don't know if he evaded because you'll see later in this case, like, sometimes they were supposed to go pick him up and they didn't. So it's just, it could be a multitude of things. Either way, he was charged with second-degree rape of a child and he was taken into custody for being a fugitive from Arkansas. So I think that was back when he was dealing with those assault felonies. And because he did that, he was on probation and violated his probation. So that's probably why he was a fugitive. Maurice was calling himself, quote, the Beast. And he was making religious-centric comments and even told one officer that President Barack Obama and LeBron James were his brothers, while Oprah Winfrey was his sister. So I don't know if he's faking this or if he's really feeling this.
Doesn't feel like he's faking. He's
But
doing
I'm just
some
like,
crazy stuff.
There had to have been some signs before this.
Yeah,
Oh,
ask
definitely.
the wife. She was the closest. I wonder if she noticed things.
Yeah.
Or was it a slow unbuckle?
Yeah.
To
I
his
never want to
sanity.
be so in love with someone that I don't see these types of signs.
Or like make excuses for them.
Yeah.
Or she was so into the 6 houses being built and she didn't see. Prosperity can blind you or close one eye. I mean, I'm not saying that's the case, but my God, them baby girls. And did the sister see it? Who kids were those? That nigga was too crazy. I wouldn't left my kids nowhere around, reformed or not.
Right? Right?
Mom said reformed or not.
5 years since or not.
That's what we have to remember. This man was like hotel locked up for years.
Because of his probation violations, he could be sent back to Arkansas where he would be facing a ton of years in prison. But Arkansas was like, nah, like y'all can keep him.
What?
Yeah. A Pierce County prosecuting attorney said their refusal to take him back just basically meant that, quote, there is a built-in incentive to not following through. In a way, the more violent they are, the less you want them in your community.
Lock him up, girl.
Clearly, the system's too lax. He would have been back out, and they knew it, and didn't want to deal with it.
Yeah, and they didn't want him to kick the guard's butt either. He didn't want to keep it, the drama down.
He really
Oh
would've
yeah,
been
he,
menace.
he would have told them up. He already knew how to get locks off the jail cells and all this stuff. Wow.
Pierce County, which is in Washington, understandably ordered a mental health evaluation on Maurice. And during this evaluation, Maurice told psychologists that in May of 2009, he was having hallucinations of, quote, people drinking blood and people eating babies, and lawless on the streets like people were cannibals.
Well, if that doesn't do it and make me lose my mind,
You got a hold of a bad batch.
a real bad batch.
He also told them that he was no longer having those hallucinations and shared his feelings about the justice system, which he hated. He said he felt that he was being, quote, maliciously persecuted because I'm Black and they believe the police.
Get out of town, Negro. You did everything they said you did and more, and you still doing it. Now make it make sense, Maurice. You made me mad.
Right, Maurice, how
Hiding
dare
behind
you?
the
Trying to say a
You
black
wanna
man.
pull the race card after all the things you did?
Right, get out of town.
On October 19th, the two psychologists concluded that Maurice was dangerous and was at a high risk for future criminal behavior.
Yeah, we already
You
know that.
think?
He was on the high risk to offend list.
He was still deemed competent to stand trial, and his attorney made it clear that he was going to still be pursuing an insanity or diminished capacity defense. Not going to get you far, I don't think, because especially with his history, like, they're not trying to hear that he's not competent now.
Right. And what difference does it make?
Right. Okay. True, but like judicially, it does make a difference,
Mhm.
right? And I do kind of feel like he is insane. Like,
But
he might
either
be
way-
playing me, but I do feel like something snapped within him. His sister even said like he was doing absolutely fine. You have to be financially disciplined to get 6 houses in 5 years. So maybe there was like a thread that was like snapping. That's what I
Well, either way, whether he crazy or just a genius, he need to be locked up.
And
So
that's
was it a mental hospital locked up or penthouse or what's it called, penitentiary locked up? He need to be locked up.
And if he went to the mental house, they would have had to keep him sedated because he's too strong.
But that's what they need. He need horse sedation because that strong neck Negro, he was gonna tear them up too. I mean, no neck, strong neck.
He was given a $150,000 bail for the child rape charges, and on November 23rd, Maurice paid $15,000 to get out.
What is money? Money ain't nothing but a tool.
It grows on
Like,
trees.
That's
for
how
him.
Maurice is like, I have that.
And he had to try multiple different bail bonds places because most of them rejected his money because of his
offense.
history.
Yeah.
No, his history of not showing up to court.
Oh,
So it's just like a bad investment.
period.
But the thing is, he raped the baby. Nobody care about that.
Well, I don't know if they can they see his offense?
I mean,
they
it doesn't-
can, right?
You can't choose whether or not you want to take someone's
Based
money
off of the
based off of their
offense.
offense.
So they had something legally to stand on, which is you don't show up to court
Yeah.
when you bond
Mhm.
out.
Correct. And unfortunately, after they let him out, he would go on to do some more terrible things, but this time he would jump over to murder. And not even just murder, mass murder.
What?
He committed a hate crime.
Ah,
While he was out on bail, Maurice was required to check in with his corrections officer 24 hours after he was released, but he didn't do that.
I mean, he didn't even wait more than 24 hours to start cutting
To
up.
start to back on his BS.
And at this point, he's been in and out of jail and saved at least, what, twice? Three times?
I think 3 times.
Wow.
No one seemed to care, though, because he wasn't punished for it at all, and he was allowed to stay free. Like, in my mind, okay, you don't check in those for 24 hours. You're going back to jail till you go to court.
Otherwise, what are we doing? How do I
Right.
fear me
Your bond is revoked.
and fear the process?
That's what I say. He don't fear. I said in the beginning, he don't fear nobody.
You
Nothing.
don't fear nothing.
Mm.
Really, truly terrible. On November 26th, so he'd been out for 3 days at this point, Maurice was at his aunt's house celebrating Thanksgiving when he told several people that he was pissed about the Pierce County legal system and planned on using a gun to murder police officers and other people, including school children.
What those kids got to do with it?
He's
Why
like,
you
Every
eating
marble.
turkey?
mine.
Yeah.
At the Thanksgiving dinner with kids probably around the table.
Literally.
Or at least in the same house.
His whole-
This is what you're talking about?
His family's there. And what do you think his funky family did?
Enable them.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Like, just listen. I'm pretty sure kikied with him a little bit about it because they didn't take him serious. Whatever.
Or was like, don't say that, Maurice. And did nothing.
Just so complicit. It is infuriating. He even whipped out a gun and showed his family members right there. And then he said he had 2 more in his car and at home.
Okay, you mean to tell me they didn't say a word?
Nobody did anything. Nobody called the police. Nobody sounded the alarm. Nobody tried to take the gun. Like, maybe they were scared of him. Maybe they were just,
Nobody believed him after he did what they did to the baby girls in their own family, and they just let him ride?
But you
Like,
know how family can be.
But did we just forget? Like, he went to jail for it. Like, and he's home now or on bail or whatever, and you just welcome him at your table? What were those baby girls? Were they there?
I don't know, girl.
You know, because they could have been at Thanksgiving.
It wouldn't surprise me at all if they were there.
That is sick.
He told them that his plan was to activate an alarm by taking off his ankle monitor, and when the police arrived to pick him up, he was going to kill them all. When describing how it would go down, he said, quote, knock, 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 boom.
Wow.
There you go. There's the manifesto.
That it was that simple.
That's premeditated. Check.
Yep.
Yeah, it is. Look at him.
Who was that?
Darkus Allen. His name is Darkus. His terrible name. Marcus
Darkus.
with a D.
He was named after his mom and daddy, Dorothy and Marcus. Darkus.
So Darkus had previously served time with Maurice in Arkansas for murder. And he was actually at the house when this conversation happened. Like, how is he out?
Oh, but saying, how is he sitting at the table?
Girl.
What? Wait a minute. What state is this again? Arkansas?
Yes. Which
I
is
ain't never
really
going
surprising
there.
to me.
Because they didn't even want him.
They're very pridged.
And now that he's back in their state, you don't even know he's here. Are you keeping tabs?
I don't know. And this was the same day that he actually did cut off the ankle monitor. But once again, no one came.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
This is insane.
Yeah, so he was like ready to go this day.
And he was going to take some people out.
Yeah.
But they didn't even come.
No.
Well,
2 days later, he showed 2 guns to his friends named Eddie and Douglas. I think they were actually his cousins. And he told them about his plans to shoot police officers as well. His half-brother, Ricky Hinton, was also present and heard this conversation. And then they said Maurice danced around with the gun in his hands while claiming he was Lucifer.
Mar,
And was.
Okay, just imagine you all sitting around playing spades, dominoes, and you got this nigga standing up with 2 guns or a gun in his hand, dancing around talking about he's Lucifer. Are we
And he
laughing?
about to go kill some people.
Are we just looking at each other like,
I really want to know what went on in that room. Like, what was the reaction to this crazy stuff?
I can't even imagine it other than them looking at him like, nigga, sit down.
He shared how he went to a Tacoma police station twice to try and kill police officers. He said the first time the station was closed and the second time he got a flat tire on the way.
Oh,
So he couldn't
Lord.
make it.
This is, I feel like divine intervention because
Yeah.
3 separate times he tried to get them and couldn't.
Lure them out, yeah. And then he brought up wanting to shoot up a school or a crowded intersection. And for me, I'm like, yeah, I'm pissed that he's saying this. He's clearly like, a loose cannon and just needs to be subdued in any possible way. But I'm really pissed at the people that are complicit in this and just listening to him say all these things.
Right.
I think they probably got desensitized, even though it's
To
like,
his
how could you
crazy-
get desensitized when he's been in and out of prison?
Yeah.
He just raped 2 young children.
At least one. For sure one.
Thank
Because he
you.
got 1 charge.
Okay, 1. How are you desensitized?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
People get comfortable like, oh, I've known him for this long and he's just going through something. And then some people are like, well, I do the same thing because I'm a piece of crap too. So
This is wild. This
yeah.
is truly
disgusting.
misjudgment on all accounts. The judicial, the family.
Yeah.
All y'all.
Mhm.
Right. And that family mess, blood thicker than water and all that stuff. No, you don't
Send them to
allow
jail.
your family member, whoever, to cause all this harm to other people for no reason.
On November 29th, Maurice woke up and drove a white pickup truck, and I'm assuming it was his car, to Darkis Allen's house, the convicted murderer.
Right.
Darkis and Maurice drove past a coffee shop and noticed some patrol cars that were parked out front. So this is the coffee shop. If you're on Patreon, you see it. They were in separate cars. Darkis circled back and parked his car near the coffee shop. Witnesses claimed to see Maurice park the white truck he was driving behind, like a nearby car wash, and he was pretending to clean his truck for a while. But, like, they thought it was weird because he never turned on the hose. So they're just like, idiot.
all the way there.
No, can't be.
Witnessing. You gotta know your surroundings.
The wheel is moving, but the hamster is dead.
The hamster is gone.
It was around 8 a.m. when Maurice walked into the coffee shop where he saw 4 police officers working on their laptops. And this was before their shift started at the beginning of their day. Maurice wasted no time and opened fire on the 4 officers, killing all 4 of them.
Good Lord.
Dear Lord.
The victims were 39-year-old Sergeant Mark Renninger. He died from a gunshot wound to the head, and he had been with the police department for 13 years.
Mark.
37-year-old Officer Ronald Owens died from a gunshot wound to the neck. He had been with the force for 12 years. 40-year-old Officer Tina Griswold, she died from a gunshot wound to the head, and she had been with the force for 14 years. And 42-year-old Officer Greg Richards also died from a gunshot wound to the head and had been with the police department for 8 years.
Good Lord.
The heck?
Yeah. So rest in peace to all of them.
Rest in peace. My God, he wasted no time. They didn't even have time to pull out their
To
weapons.
say anything to him.
They had weapons. Didn't have time to use it.
Well, Officer Greg had time.
Oh, yeah.
Before he died from his gunshot wound, he fought with Maurice as he was trying to leave the coffee shop. So Maurice was trying to flee, but Greg attacked him and was able to shoot Maurice in the back before he got out.
Okay.
Good
For you, Greg. Don't fight.
Right. There were other people in the coffee shop at the time, but Maurice didn't harm them.
Didn't even care about him. That wasn't his agenda.
No, it's mostly cops he wanted to go for. With a gunshot wound to his back, Maurice stole Officer Greg's gun before fleeing the scene and headed back to his truck. By the time he got back to the truck, Darkis had already driven away. That's what he claimed, at least. And he was like, I didn't want any parts of what he was doing, but realistically, he helped Marcus, who was shot. Maurice. Darkis, Marcus. Maurice, he helped Maurice escape the scene.
Right. Duh, that's why you were there. You were there to scope out in the beginning and escape out in the end.
Yeah. Maurice was able to escape the scene, but was identified later by witness descriptions as a person of interest. And initially, after hearing that he'd been shot and where he was shot, police thought he was just going to die. But that's not what happened. He was able to make it back to his house and told his brother Ricky that he had been shot by police. But I don't think he mentioned that he had shot at them first.
Or killed them. 4 of them.
Right? BOS. Ricky gave Eddie and Douglas a car to get Maurice out of there, and they left. So Eddie's the one that I showed you guys earlier.
Yeah.
As they rode in the car, Maurice told Eddie and Douglas that he had, quote, taken care of his business. So these are the same people he was just telling days before, like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to kill some cops. And then he goes and does it.
And now he's taking care of business. So there you go. He done killed some cops.
And now they're accomplices because they're driving the Negro away.
And they should know that.
They know that. The brothers took Maurice to some other friend's house who helped him. And by the way, forget how you feel about cops, right? This is a man that has raped a child and sexually assaulted at least 2.
Right.
Like, this is, and these people are still helping him.
Right. And we don't know if these were good cops or bad cops. We don't know, like, you know, I'm going to say it right as of now, nobody deserves to get gunned down like that.
Later that same day, officers received a tip that Maurice was being housed by some friends in Seattle. And they were able to locate a white car that was reportedly transporting Maurice to and fro. And the female driver admitted that she was cool with Maurice and that she drove him to Seattle after he told her that he killed some police officers. So, girl, you just snitched
So
on your
you're
whole self. You're making sure you get locked
You
up. when
going
all
to
this is
jail.
done.
You're going to jail.
Funky
She said, I'm
hustler.
safer in there. This crazy. He coming for me
Unless
too.
they
if I
lock him
do.
up.
But at this point, he could kill all these cops and still probably get out on a technicality.
That's what she said. She counted the cost. I'm telling on myself so I can be safe because they gonna let him go. This nigga got 9 lives. He only on 4. He got 5 more. He gonna take mine.
Right.
Well, that's what she said.
All right, simmer down. That was a whole service. That was a whole verse.
Well, so I got bars.
That was bars. Not gonna lie.
The police engaged in the biggest manhunt that the Seattle-Tacoma area had ever experienced, and he was considered the most wanted man in the Pacific Northwest.
Ooh, wait. Arkansas said, hey, we told you we didn't want him. Seattle chasing him around the city.
Arkansas to him.
Your problem now.
It's horrible.
This is so bad. He needs
So
to be
bad.
locked up.
100%. They kept a close eye on any and all family and friends that he could have reached out to for help. One of his relatives heard that Maurice was on his way to her house, and she was like, no.
That's my purr.
Keep me out of your bull crap. And she
Mhm.
contacted the police before leaving herself.
Purr.
The police wasted 11 hours surrounding that woman's house because they thought Maurice was in there.
Did she say that, or did she say he's on the way?
I think she said that he wasn't there, but they probably didn't believe her. And then when they finally gained entry to the house, it wasn't even in there.
Girl, you gotta be kidding. They scary.
You don't have to be smart to be a police officer. That's what I've
And it sounds like they're real scary. He had already killed 4 police. That is a massacre. So I'm sure they were taking their sweet time trying to get to him.
And an innocent place as a coffee shop. Like, no one would ever think that that's something that would
yeah.
happen to them. Never.
It was probably broad day.
Yeah,
You said it was before their shift.
It was like 8 a.m. or something. By now, it's late in the day on November 30th, and police had finally found one of the guns Maurice had and the white pickup truck. They were both in a park. And they also noticed some blood inside the pickup truck. So this does mean, like, hey, he was shot, we see. The next day, December 1st, at around 2:45 a.m., Seattle police officer Benjamin Kelly was on patrol and stopped to check out a broken down car on the side of the road. It had its hood up, but I don't think it was, like, actually off. He noted that the car looked like it was reported stolen because he was like, oh, I recognize this from a report. So he went back to his car to write up the report saying, like, hey, I found this car. And that's when he saw Maurice starting to walk toward him.
Oh, no.
Run, officer, run. Or shoot.
Run or pull your weapon out.
Shoot, then run.
Now Maurice's face was everywhere at this point, and Officer Kelly immediately recognized him. Kelly ordered him to stop and show him his hands, but of course Maurice started to run away.
Okay.
According to the officer Kelly, Maurice reached into his waistband for what he assumed was a gun, and that's when the officer fired 3 times at Maurice, hitting him at least twice and killing him.
Had to.
Okay.
You had to.
It had to be done.
You're
Crazy
an
don't die
officer.
easy.
He's killed 4.
He's killed
You're
4.
next.
He was probably trying to run back around the car to get cover and then shoot at this man because
Right.
they ended up finding the gun that he took from Officer Greg on his person after he died.
So I'm
That's
just
what he
saying,
was
if
reaching
it's
for.
really if it's really a me and you situation, and I happen to be a cop, whatever the dynamic, but it's really a me and you, it's either one of us. Do what you have to do. It's gonna be you every time.
It was also determined that even if the officer didn't shoot and kill Maurice that night, he would have eventually died from the gunshot wound to his back.
So he's still like bleeding out and stuff.
Yeah. Hasn't properly been like damaged, like they did what they could, but I'm sure the bullet was still in there. And, you know, that stuff travels.
I'm sure they said that to soften up the fact that an op killed them.
And
Yeah.
was
A cop.
a cop.
You know?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh my God.
So
We ain't never seen a dead body on here.
well, that's definitely one. That's him. So this was just like so easily found on the internet. It kind of made me very uncomfortable. And this was a point of like controversy later because they're like, well, who took this picture? And this is very inappropriate. It is very, very inappropriate. Obviously, if you're on Patreon, you see it. But if you want to see it, you can probably find it some other places too.
This is actually horrible. First of all, never seen a dead body, right? Like other than like documentaries and but like right here, and this was probably in the news or some freaking digital magazine. His body is right here.
And as you can see,
y'all might want to judge me on this, but I don't see nothing wrong with him showing him some shame because he done took so many lives and did so much dangerous stuff. Let him go out in shame with all the holes in his body. It ain't funny, but you can count them.
Okay, Mom, you are a morbid person. Y'all, my mom doesn't have like normal emotions.
She
like
doesn't.
She is
Yes, they lying.
Just like Kayla. The only reason Kayla is
your mama, Kayla,
she has a child.
No. I had 2 kids, but I'm just saying, you know.
But this is very like not our country type of stuff. Like, and if you're gonna do this, right? If you're gonna shame, make sure you be shaming everybody. Like, shame all the murderers, because it just. I'm shocked that I'm seeing this because we don't ever see stuff like this on our show when it comes to all the horrible cases we've done. Yeah. So to just see his body like this, I'm thinking like, are we in another country? Because this is not normal.
Right. And it's so, like, I found it so easily. And the thing that really upsets me is, one, it's because I think it's so easily found and so crass to release this because he killed cops. And it's like, the cops are like, well, you know, you hurt one of ours, like, let's let everyone see like what you look like in your last moments or whatever, you know, kind of just like their last FU to him. And then as you can see, he's still handcuffed behind his back and he's dead. They still handcuffed him and his body, he's still handcuffed right now. So it's just crazy to see that.
This is wild. All his clothes is off. Okay. He's stripped.
Yeah. It's a lot.
It's a lot.
Cops are not. He did so much damage. And I'm like, does he even deserve any dignity? I mean, yeah, this shouldn't be out there for all to see because, you know, kids could get a hold to it and all that stuff. And I ain't even talking about his family or nothing because they knew what he was going to do and all that.
Some of them need to be locked up right with him.
That's
so I'm just trying. I'm not. I mean, I am throwing shade, but I ain't trying to be shady. It's just like he ain't getting no justice no other way. You know, their family's not getting justice or anything, but if this brought them some solace of his humiliation, because God knows he done humiliated so many, including his own family. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's just how I see it. Now, if it was somebody else that didn't deserve it, that's just dog wrong, but
yeah.
Ooh, that's Mom is a thug. A whole thug. Mom would see some stuff like if they posted prisoners fighting and stuff, and you could bet on which one's gonna win. And they're all like serial killers and killers. Mom would probably bet, or if not, watch one.
Maybe, Kristen, maybe.
Before he was killed, there was a $145,000 reward being offered for any information leading to his arrest.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, and you mean to tell me his little crusty, funky family members
didn't snitch on him?
Shoot, something was up. They were too close in a not good way.
Mm-hmm.
After Maurice's death, 6 people were arrested in connection with what Maurice did. The accomplices lied to police about where he was, gave him money, hid him, tried to help him leave the state, all that.
And Eddie and Darkest were 2 of them?
Yes. So LaTanya Clemens, which was his sister, Latricia Nelson, his aunt. I think I actually have a picture of her. I do. So that's her. A woman named Kiana. Kiana. I'm assuming it's Kiana, but it's spelled Q-U-I-A-N-A.
That's Kiana.
Yeah, that's Kiana.
Okay, so that's Kiana. She also got arrested. Eddie and Douglas Davis, and then Ricky Hinton, which was his brother. Darkest Allen was also arrested, and he was charged with murder for helping Maurice flee. So they
was getting him.
They was not playing. He ended up also being wanted in connection with a bank robbery that happened in Arkansas. And he ended up being found guilty of the 4 murders and sentenced to 420 years in prison.
Darkest, you going to jail. Big time.
Forever. In June 2010, his sister LaTanya was sentenced to 5 years for her role in helping him evade police. January 14, 2011, Eddie Davis was sentenced to 10 years and 5 months. Douglas Davis was sentenced to 7 years and 6 months, and Latricia Nelson was sentenced to 6 years and 2 months in prison.
Look, y'all are all culpable.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sorry, not sorry. Somebody needed to serve some doggone time.
Oh, yeah. He's dead, but y'all are still here, and y'all are going to face the music.
Because every single one of them could have
Stopped it.
Yeah, stopped him.
Yeah.
It could have been prevented at the Thanksgiving dinner.
You know,
If
they could
somebody had
have
squealed.
held him in that house. He would have knocked all of them out by the time the police got there. But they could have tried. They could have tried something.
Where's wifey?
Where the heck is Nicole?
Well, listen, she said, "My name is Bennett, and I am nowhere in it."
Did she divorce him?
I don't think so. I mean, he died, so they were still married when he died, as far as I know. One of Maurice's uncles, who was actually working as a corrections officer at the time, said, quote, "This is a bitter pill to swallow. I'm in law enforcement myself. Maurice took away a lot. These families lost everything. Maurice was all about getting and all about having. He was all about money. Then suddenly he was all about God." So obviously not genuinely, because God wouldn't tell you to go and just murder people because you felt like you were being unfairly targeted after you were committing horrible crimes.
Right.
Something ain't right. Did y'all see a loose screw? Like, for real?
We can see it, and we never even met him. I saw 2 pictures of him and was like, okay, stay clear.
Were they all like proud of him because he made so much money at one point, came out of prison, thought that he was reformed, had a wife, was making money? Like, I'm just so confused on how you will allow something like this to keep going on.
Yeah, to keep happening. I don't know.
Sad.
I don't know, but that's our case for this week.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know how to pick them, Kayla. Got my emotions everywhere.
It was a lot. And when I was researching it, I kept being like, no way. Like, he did that. You know, it was just a lot just added on top of each other.
It doesn't feel real.
It doesn't. All this happening because of one person and him getting away with so much. And
So
still,
much.
in total, he spent, at least like 15 years in prison.
And received how many years, I wonder, in the judicial system?
Total. I think
At
total
least
he
100 and
received like
something.
at least 120,
Mm-hmm.
which is nuts. And only served 15.
Well, I tell you what, I don't like the fact that I saw his dead body, like, on some real stuff, because that just brought me back to the times of 1960s when it was black and white, but they had black bodies on the street in the newspapers and stuff,
Oh, God.
just exposed. So I don't like that.
Sorry.
But shoot, he did a lot, and now he's in the dirt, and that's the life that he chose.
Yeah.
Whether he chose it or he was mentally insane, that's just what it is.
Right. His journey. Because either way, he knew right from wrong. He knew that it was wrong to do what he was going to do, but he did it anyway. So regardless of his state of mind at that time, if you're still able to tell the difference between right and wrong, you
are
can be held
competent.
responsible for what you've done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he was calculating. He meant to do what he meant to do. He said it. He spoke it.
About it. Yep.
He manifested, as y'all say. He did it. You know,
Yep.
he meant what he said. He said what he meant, and he did it. Wow.
Yeah. So let us know what you guys thought about this case. Thank you so much for hanging in there with us and listening to this episode. If you enjoy the show, please give us a 5-star rating on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and even Facebook. It really, really helps the show grow. And yeah, as always, before we go, be safe, protect your peace, and protect your space.
So we don't have to cover your case.
friends.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, friends.
Thanks so much for listening to the show. You can stream all of our episodes on Amazon Music, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your favorite podcasts. And if you enjoy the show, please leave us a 5-star rating on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and even Facebook. It's the best way to help the show grow, and it's completely free. For bonus content, you can find us on Patreon, and for more information about the show, you can visit blacktruecrime.com. See you next time.